Before you scroll away, listen to this. A quiet young man from a small village in the Philippines walks onto the biggest stage in America with nothing but his voice and a lifetime of pain. By the time he finishes singing, the audience is crying, the judges are standing, and Simon Cowell, the man known for breaking dreams, is wiping tears from his eyes. This is not just an audition. This is a life-changing moment. If you believe in real talent, real struggle, and real emotion, subscribe now, because stories like this deserve to be heard. The lights inside the America's Got Talent theater glowed brighter than Arvin had ever imagined. For a moment, he stood just behind the curtain, listening to the roar of an audience he could not yet see. Thousands of miles away from his home in the Philippines, he felt both incredibly small and unbelievably alive. His hands trembled, not because of fear alone, but because he knew this stage represented everything he had survived. Hunger, loss, rejection, and silence had all led to this single step forward. Arvin grew up in a coastal town where houses were made of thin wood and rusted tin roofs. When storms came, water leaked through the ceiling, and when food was scarce, his family learned to sleep through hunger. His father was a fisherman who never returned one night. No body was found, no answers were given, only the sea remaining silent. From that day on, Arvin's mother became both parents, working long hours washing clothes for strangers just to keep her children alive. Music entered Arvin's life not as a dream, but as a refuge. There was no radio in their house, but there was an old guitar with missing strings that someone had thrown away. Arvin fixed it using fishing line. At night, when the town went quiet, he would sit near the shore and sing softly, afraid someone might tell him to stop. Singing was the only time he felt heard in a world that ignored him. School was not kind. Other children laughed at his worn clothes and his accent when he tried to sing English songs. Teachers told him music would never feed his family. Still, Arvin sang. He sang at funerals, at weddings, anywhere people would listen. Sometimes he was paid with food instead of money. Sometimes with nothing at all. The idea of America's Got Talent came to him from an internet cafe where he watched auditions on a cracked screen. He saw people like him, people with nothing, standing on a big stage and being seen. It felt impossible, almost cruel, to imagine himself there. But his mother told him something that changed everything. She said, "Even if the world is big, your voice is still yours. Use it." Applying for the show required money he did not have. Neighbors helped. Strangers donated small amounts. Someone paid for his passport. When Arvin finally boarded a plane for the first time in his life, he pressed his forehead to the window and cried silently, thinking of his mother standing alone at the airport, waving until she disappeared from view. Backstage at AGT, surrounded by performers from around the world, Arvin felt invisible again. Others practiced dance routines or vocal runs. Arvin sat quietly, holding the same guitar he had played since he was a teenager. A producer asked him if he was nervous. He smiled and said no, but inside, he felt like his heart might break out of his chest. Then his name was called. As Arvin walked onto the stage, the audience clapped politely, not knowing what to expect. The judges looked curious but reserved. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. When asked where he was from, Arvin answered softly, "The Philippines." When asked why he came, he paused longer than expected and said, "I am here to sing for my mother, and for everyone who feels unseen." Simon asked him what song he would sing. Arvin said it was an original song, written during nights when he thought his dreams were over. Simon raised an eyebrow. Original songs always carried risk. The music began, gentle and unsure at first. Arvin's voice entered quietly, almost fragile. Some in the audience leaned forward. Others whispered. But then something changed. His voice grew stronger, filled with pain, hope, and honesty that could not be rehearsed. He sang about loss, about oceans that take fathers away, about mothers who never stop believing, and about dreams that refuse to die even when the world tries to kill them. Halfway through the song, the theater fell completely silent. No coughing, no movement, just listening. Arvin's voice cracked on one line, not from mistake, but from memory. Tears rolled down his face, and he did not wipe them away. He kept singing. That was the moment something shifted. Heidi covered her mouth. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Howie nodded slowly, deeply moved. And Simon Cowell leaned forward. When the song ended, there was a pause so long it felt endless. Then the audience exploded to their feet. Applause thundered through the theater. Arvin stood frozen, overwhelmed, unsure if what he felt was real. Simon removed his glasses. He looked at Arvin and said something that stunned everyone. He said he had heard thousands of singers, but very few had made him feel something real in the first note. He admitted that he had expected nothing when Arvin walked out, and that expectation was completely wrong. His voice cracked as he spoke about how music should tell the truth, and how Arvin had done exactly that. Then Simon wiped his eyes. The crowd gasped. Arvin covered his face, crying openly now. Simon told him that this audition was not just good, it was important. He said America needed to hear voices like his. All 4 judges voted yes, but it felt bigger than that. It felt like a door had opened not just for Arvin, but for every child watching from a small house with big dreams. Backstage, Arvin collapsed into tears, calling his mother. When she answered, he could barely speak. She cried too, saying she always knew his voice would travel farther than their village. The clip went viral within hours. Millions watched. People searched his name. Messages poured in from Filipinos around the world and from Americans who said they had never heard a story like his before. Arvin's journey was no longer just his own. It belonged to everyone who believed that pain could become power and that talent could rise from anywhere. And on that night, on that stage, a boy from the Philippines did not just audition. He reminded the world why dreams matter.